It's the Tuesday edition of the Morning Pitt here on youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com. Welcome to November, start of a new month, final third of the college football season. We'll have it all covered for you right here on the Morning Pitt every day, Monday through Friday, and of course on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com, which you can subscribe to with that subscribe button. It's down there, it's blue. I need to change that and make it a little more notable, bright flashing red or yellow or something like that, but a little rectangle down there in the corner of the screen. You can see it. Click subscribe, and then you can turn on notifications. That way you'll get an alert every time we go live. You'll never miss any of our live Pitt Panther coverage on youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com. Like this video as well. That is big for us. That's what YouTube people always tell you to do, right? Like and subscribe. So like and subscribe, and that would be big for us. We very much appreciate it. We release these Morning Pitt videos every day, Monday through Friday. Every morning, give you something to talk about to start the day. And we will continue to do so throughout the year. It's been a lot of fun to do these, and I hope you're enjoying them. I hope you're enjoying watching these and listening to the podcast as much as we're enjoying putting them out. A quick programming note. We do have our live show every week, our live Panther-Lair show. We do it every Wednesday night. This week, Pitt has a basketball game, an exhibition game on Wednesday night, so we're going to move the live show to Thursday. We're going to do our live Panther-Lair show on Thursday night. So mark your calendars accordingly. That'll be on Thursday evening. We'll be live at 8:30 as opposed to Wednesday evening at 8:30. But again, if you subscribe to our YouTube channel and turn on the notifications, you don't have to worry about missing the show because you'll get an alert to know when we are ready to go live. Of course, that'll also go for after the game on Saturday for our post-game show. Pitt-Syracuse, 3:30 at Acrisure Stadium. I'm guessing we'll be live around 10 o'clock for the live show, the live post-game show to talk about the game. And you can definitely tune in then. And, same deal. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. You'll get a notification when we go live. So that's you don't want to miss any of those for sure. So Pitt's getting ready for Syracuse. The Orange sitting at, what are they, 6-2. They're ranked in the top 25. They dropped quite a bit. I think they were 16 last week. They're down to 22 now. In the wake of their loss to Notre Dame, a pretty significant loss. Garrett Schrader, their quarterback, sort of up in the air. Find out if he's going to play. We'll talk about Syracuse more as the week goes on. The thing that stands out to me, and I'll probably say it a bunch this week, is how close Pitt-Syracuse games have been over the years. I mean, basically since Pitt joined the ACC, and even before that, there were close games, competitive games. Syracuse was a real thorn in Pitt's side, I think, in the early 2000s, right around the turn of the millennium. Since joining the ACC, Pitt has won for the most part, but they've been close. There have been a lot of close games between these two teams. We'll talk about that and revisit some history down the road later this week as you get closer to Saturday. For now, we have a few things we need to clean up. Mostly coming out of yesterday's press conference. Pat Narduzzi held his weekly press conference in the South Side yesterday. Answered a lot of questions, took a lot of questions about the offense, a lot of questions about the offensive players, about the offensive staff, about everything going on with that side of the ball as they continue to struggle. And, really out of 4 losses, you would say at least 3 are on the offense. I think, yes, the defense collapsed against North Carolina on Saturday night, but the offense did absolutely nothing in the fourth quarter and arguably had a worse quarter than the defense did. I think the offense absolutely is to blame for the Louisville loss, and the offense is absolutely to blame for the Georgia Tech loss. Tennessee, what do you want to do? I mean, you could put it on a lot of places. You could put it on missed field goals. You could put it on quarterback injury. You could put it on another quarterback injury. There are a lot of places you could point to with that loss to Tennessee, against one of the top teams in the country. It's hard for me to say, well, the offense lost that game or the defense lost that game. It was just a loss, and not a lot of shame in that loss, aside from feeling like you probably could have won that game. But the other 3 are absolutely on the offense, and so Pat Narduzzi took a lot of questions about that side of the ball. And I talked yesterday about a big question for me, and it's something I'm going to probably talk about all week and maybe continuing to talk about through the rest of the season, about a big decision that Pat Narduzzi has to make. And if you didn't watch the Morning Pitt yesterday, or you didn't read on Panther-Lair.com, where I wrote about it there as well, Pat Narduzzi's facing a big decision where he has to decide the issues with the offense if he believes, to be really sort of simplistic about it, if he thinks it's more about the quarterback or the offensive coordinator. And and it's not entirely one or the other. Both share blame here, Kedon Slovis and Frank Cignetti. But if Narduzzi feels like the blame is more on one side than the other, if it's heavily imbalanced to one side or the other, he needs to make some changes. And that doesn't necessarily mean firing the offensive coordinator. But if he feels that the offensive coordinator, let's start with the quarterback. If he feels that the quarterback is the issue, that the quarterback's simply not good enough to play winning football, then he needs to change quarterbacks. It's as simple as that to me. If he feels like the quarterback is good enough, if he feels like the quarterback is talented enough to play winning football, then he needs to address it on the other side. He needs to be in the coaches' offices, he needs to be in the offensive meetings, and he needs to say, Frank Cignetti, the rest of this offensive coaching staff, you need to fix this. You need to find a way to better coordinate this offense. And if it's about communication, if it's about organization, if it's about play design, if it's about game play calling, whatever it is, you need to make it work because the players are better than what the product that we're getting out there. And I talked about this at length yesterday. That's the nuts and bolts of it. I guess I could have said it in about 4 minutes, or however long it's taking me to say it right now. I guess I didn't need a 28-minute podcast yesterday to say all of that. But I wanted to dig into it a little bit. But that's the gist of it. And so I asked Pat Narduzzi yesterday. I asked him something along those lines. I said, look, you've got a lot of players on your offense who have had success in the past. Players that you're counting on. Kedon Slovis, the receivers, pretty much everyone you're counting on offense has had success in the past, but they haven't played all that well this year. They're struggling. What do you feel like is holding them back from playing as well as they have before and as well as you expect them to? And here's Narduzzi's answers. What I just said to you was my question almost verbatim. And here was Pat Narduzzi's answer. Quote, your expectations are your expectations. You could say Konate played at Akron and not in a Power 5. Same thing with Bub Means playing down at Louisiana Tech. You can go back and look at the stats. It doesn't matter what they did in the past. What are they doing here? What are they doing now? It comes down to execution. I'm going to end quote there and say at that point, Narduzzi found a way to get away from answering the question. Quote, it comes down to that, and it comes down to blocking. Konate has got a chance on a third down late in the half. I want to say it's 3rd down and 10, and we throw a bubble to Konate. If you look at the coverage there, you're going, this is going to be a 1st down. But we don't block the guy, and he comes through, corner comes through, we don't block him. That's execution. That's not on, Konate can go for 25, but we don't give him a chance to. So it's execution, and whoever that guy was that missed the block, I'm not even going to call his name out, but that's what happens. It takes 11. I hope that answers your question. End quote. Well, it doesn't answer my question, but I think I knew, I didn't really think, I thought there was a possibility that question might be answered. I thought there was a possibility he might say, I do believe these players are better than what we're getting out of them. I do believe these players are better than the product that we put on the field, and that's on us as coaches. I thought there was a chance he might say that. He has said things like that in the past. And to be quite honest, was I going for a specific answer? I don't know, but I think that's a clear implication that if you have players who have a history of success and you're not getting that kind of successful play, something's missing, and it seems like it would be on the coaching. And so I thought he might, I don't want to say take the bait because it sounds like I'm trying to bait him into something, but I'm not, or I wasn't. It was more a matter of saying, look, here's what I'm seeing. From where I sit, whether it's in the press box or here in the offices at Panther-Lair.com, and I watch the games, I say, something's not right here. Something's not clicking here. These guys are better than this, but they're not playing like it. And so the question, I think it's a natural question. I think it's an obvious question. I think it's a relevant question. I think it's a question that should be asked. Why? You can't just tell me that Kedon Slovis forgot how to play football. And again, I said all these things after the Louisville game, not to mention how much I said after the Carolina game and then on yesterday's Morning Pitt. So I'm not going to go down the whole list again. But I think it's a valid question. And sort of as expected, Pat Narduzzi didn't really go for the implication there. Maybe he picked up on it and refused to even touch it. Maybe he didn't really understand what I was getting at or what the implication was, but that was his response. I do think Pat Narduzzi, we know how much he tries to be guarded about everything, right? We know he tries to stay keep in-house things in-house, and he tries to make as much in-house as he possibly can. What falls under the category of in-house? As much as Narduzzi can possibly make in-house, if you know what I'm saying. And so there are a lot of times where he will answer a question and you'll think, oh my God, is he really like endorsing this guy? Is he really like saying, hey, this guy's playing well or this coach is doing a great job? And the answer is yes, he's saying those things publicly, but behind closed doors, I have to think he's taking a different approach. And in this particular situation, where the offense has cost them 3 wins, and they're sitting at 4-4 after having Coastal Championship, ACC Championship, and potential playoff aspirations, to be sitting at 4-4, largely on the failures of your offense, that has to draw his ire. And it has to have gotten a reaction from him. And it has to have him, if not taking action, because we haven't necessarily seen any action, at least being more active and vocal behind closed doors and in the meeting rooms saying we have to figure this out because we haven't, and it's sinking the season. Now, there may be things that happen that we'll never really see or really never hear about or know about. I mentioned the example of 2020 when Narduzzi took a more active role in the offense after the Notre Dame game and seemed to have a positive impact. And that was sort of one of those things that you probably didn't really see. We talked about it and wrote about it, and it was there. But by and large, it's not a there are things that can happen that can be unseen to the general public, but can make an impact behind closed doors. It doesn't have to be firing someone or changing a starter or something like that. You can make an impact on things. All right, Two Deep came out yesterday. No changes on the Two Deep for Pitt this week. I'll tell you though, they've been going with this 3 tackle rotation, offensive tackles, Matt Gonsalves and Gabe Hoy and Branson Taylor. With on the depth chart, it's listed as Branson Taylor as the starting left tackle. Matt Gonsalves and Gabe Hoy as starters at right tackle. This past game, and really since Carter Warren has been out, Matt Gonsalves has started the last however many games at left tackle. He's played both. He's played a little bit of both in both games. But he has been the starting left tackle for the past few weeks since Carter Warren has been out. And particularly since Gabe Hoy came back. And I think it has to do with that as much as anything. You needed Warren to be out to open a spot at left tackle, and you needed Hoy to be ready to come back in at right tackle. Or else, if Hoy's not ready, or if Warren's still out there, Gonsalves stays at left tackle. He has said in the past that he prefers left tackle, that he thinks it's a better position for him, that he thinks he plays better there, and that's where he likes to play. I think he's willing to play at right tackle or guard or anywhere you put him because he wants to be on the field and contribute. But left tackle seems to be his preferred position. To be quite honest, I think he's looked better at left tackle than right tackle. I think that's been a better spot for him. And, whatever you want to say about Pro Football Focus, they graded Gonsalves as Pitt's second best offensive lineman on Saturday night. He gave up 2 pressures, which is, tied for the most of any lineman on the team. But he also had it was like, as many pass block snaps as anybody else out there. And the way they rotated it on Saturday night, Gonsalves started at left tackle, Hoy started at right tackle. Gonsalves ended up playing about 3 snaps at right tackle. Branson Taylor came in for about 11 snaps in the game. Gave up a sack. He had 3 pass block snaps and gave up a sack on one of those 3. His run blocking wasn't really that good either. I think Branson Taylor is the future. I think he's going to be a very good player for Pitt. I think he's going to be a starter on the offensive line next year, and I think he's going to do well in that role. I think the future is very bright for Branson Taylor, the redshirt sophomore. But the reality is, right now, Gonsalves is the better option. And I think in the final 4 games, I'm not sure there's a lot to be gained by running Branson Taylor out there. And again, that's not a disrespect to him. I think he's going to be really good. But right now, your best pair of tackles is Gonsalves and Hoy, with Gonsalves on the left and Hoy on the right. And I think they need to go with that and stick with that and play those 5, left to right of Gonsalves, Minor, Cradle, Zubovic, Hoy. I think they need to stick with that 5 going forward because I think it's their best group. I thought they did a good job protecting Keaton Slovis. I thought, Slovis has not had great protection all season. I think he's 10th among FBS Power 5 quarterbacks in pressure rate. Like how many, what percentage of his dropbacks is he under pressure? It's like 37.6. Drake May from North Carolina, incidentally, is at 37.7. So he's one step higher, or 1/10 of a percentage more of his dropbacks is he under pressure. But he's also dynamite in those situations. He leads the nation in passing yards when he's under pressure and has thrown 10 touchdown passes when under pressure. Drake May is a great quarterback, but I digress. Slovis has been under pressure a lot. I didn't think the pressure was too big of a problem in that game on Saturday. Taking a quick look at his numbers, he was under pressure about his season average. 37.5% of his snaps dropped on. He had 12 dropbacks when he was under pressure. 3 of 11 in those situations, so that's 27%. Threw for 100 yards in those situations. He had one long pass. I forget what the long one was. When he was under pressure, he had a really nice pass to Wayne, actually, to Jared Wayne. It was really nice throw when he was under pressure. But I thought they protected him well enough. I didn't think Carolina's pass rush was the biggest problem for Keaton Slovis. Now, he took that sack that Branson Taylor gave up. But on the whole, I think those 5 guys of Gonsalves, Minor, Cradle, Zubovic, Hoy mostly kept him clean. And they did a decent job run blocking as well. I don't think the offensive line has been as bad as it's been made out to be this year. It hasn't been great. I don't think there's any question, but it's been okay. And they've had their moments. I think as they've played, I think Louisville was a challenge because they lead the ACC, maybe the FBS in sacks. So I mean that's a challenge. That's going to be a challenge for anyone. But for the most part, there are flaws in this offense, fundamentally broken elements of this offense. But the pass protection is not necessarily one I would put in that category. It's not a strength. Maybe the way it was last year, and it was last year. It was a strength. Regardless of Kenny Pickett's mobility, it was a strength last year. I don't know that it's not a strength this year, but it's not the glaring weakness that it's been made out to be in some situations. Sometimes it has been. Some games it has been. For the most part, it's been okay. But I would do that with the offensive line. I would put Gonsalves at left tackle and just play him there pretty much the entire game, unless you have a really ideal situation or scenario where you want to rotate Taylor in. But I'm not really sure when that would be. Shy of, a blowout win. Or a blowout loss, I guess. If you're in a situation where the game is completely out of reach, then maybe you get some snaps from them. But for the most part, when the game's in, the outcome is still in question, I would probably go with Gonsalves. The other thing I would do, too, to be honest, and it's tough because he made two of the most exciting plays of the season. I'm not so sure about MJ Devonshire at punt returner right now. There's too much risk involved. And this offense cannot afford any losses of field position, any unnecessary lost yards, which is what they're ending up with out of the punt return unit. And it's largely because Devonshire has a bad tendency of trying to make something happen too much instead of realizing that, well, if I only get 3 yards, it's better than losing 13. I don't know if I think I would probably switch him out and I'd put, someone I could trust back there. I might even put Jared Wayne back there. Just somebody I know is going to catch it. Somebody I know is going to make a good decision. I would put Vincent Davis back there maybe. I think I can trust him to make good decisions of when to catch it, when to fair catch it, which is the answer is most of the time, when to let it go and let it bounce into the end zone. I might even put someone like Vincent Davis back there or Konate Mumfield. I mean, he's listed as an or starter at punt returner with Devonshire. I might put Mumfield back in. But I'm not sure, maybe some more coaching with Devonshire. Maybe he needs a few extra pep talks or something like that. But I just don't think you're getting what you want to get out of him right now or out of the punt return game. I mean, special teams overall has been an adventure this season. and borderline disaster. The punt return situation, like you just need somebody that's going to make a good decision. Because while it'll be great to get points and get a touchdown out of a punt return or great field position, you need to not lose field position as a result of your return guy. All right, the one other thing we didn't talk about yesterday, but it did happen over the weekend. Pitt lost a commitment. Colin Van Roy, an offensive lineman, announced on Saturday night, like right before the game, that he was decommitting. Drops Pitt's recruiting class down to 17. They're ranked number 41 in the nation. They still have 4 offensive linemen in the class. Van Roy was, I think he was more of a guard. But, most of the guys that are recruiting, they feel like they could use it guard or tackle. He announced his decommitment. I think the reality probably is that Pitt initiated that move. The recruit can announce it as a decommitment. They always do. But I think Pitt probably initiated that move. He's an offensive lineman who impressed the coaching staff during the June prospect camps over the summer, earned his offer there. But I'm not sure if his senior tape has lived up to the promise he showed at that prospect camp. So, I think it's one of those situations where they decided to move on. We've seen this from time to time. We talked last week, I think, about decommitments and about recruits who would commit in June and then end up not signing. Most of those are guys who end up decommitting because they want to go to a different school. Some of those guys are guys that end up decommitting because they've been told that maybe they don't have a spot in the class anymore. And it's a delicate situation. It's a tricky situation. It's not anything that anybody really likes to do, I don't think, because you do have some personal relationships built up there. But it's something you kind of, sometimes you have to make that business decision. Just like the recruits have to make business decisions for themselves, sometimes the college coaches have to make business decisions as well. And I think that might have been what happened here with that offensive lineman, Colin Van Roy. So Pitt's at 17 commitments for the class. They've got room for a few more. They're going to have room for transfers as well, either with their open scholarships that come from seniors who graduate or with open scholarships that come from underclassmen who transfer. There are going to be some of those. There are always going to be some of those. You know that. And you should know that going in. That should be understood and expected at this point. But it's, so there's room to get some more recruits, and there's going to be a lot of room to add transfers too. It's going to be another interesting offseason, partially leading up to the December signing day. And then once you move forward from there, working on the transfers to see who can come in January, and help the team right away, or who's going to come in over the summer, and what positions they really target and try to fill. I think we'll save it for a Morning Pitt for another day, but I think we can probably come up with a pretty good list of positions they need to fill with game-ready transfers this offseason. So we'll see where it goes from there. All right, it's Tuesday today. Tomorrow's Wednesday. Pitt has a exhibition basketball game tomorrow night. We'll probably talk about that on Thursday. I don't think we'll preview the game as much on Wednesday. Tomorrow, or as much as we will sort of recap it on Thursday. So we'll have some hoops talk on Thursday. We'll have more football talk. Probably need to dig in this defense a little bit. We've been talking a lot about offense so far this week, but the defense deserves some of our attention as well. We'll dig into some defense tomorrow as we move through the week with the Morning Pitt. Remember the Panther-Lair show, the live Panther-Lair show will be Thursday night at 8:30, not Wednesday night. Not doing it tomorrow night. I'll remind you of this again tomorrow and Thursday. We're doing it Thursday night due to the Pitt basketball game tomorrow night. So we'll be live right here on youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com at 8:30 p.m. Thursday night. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, like this video, and check out Panther-Lair.com, Panther-Lair.com, Pittsburgh.rivals.com, the most comprehensive source of Pitt sports news on the internet. Football, basketball, and recruiting. You find it all, Panther-Lair.com. All right, thanks so much for tuning in today. Hope you had a great Halloween last night. Hope you didn't eat too much candy. Hope you aren't already eating too much candy. I know I did, I know I am, and I know I will. And I imagine you're probably about the same. But hope you have a great Tuesday, and we will talk to you again tomorrow morning for the Morning Pitt right here on youtube.com/Panther-Lair.com.